Okay. So we're live on Facebook and let's get this. Yeah, I'll give myself another couple of minutes.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. And yeah, that's a word. Let me just see something. Here we go. Good. All right. Feel like I need two heads for this. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Okay, good. Well, I think I probably can. Okay. There's a few seconds. Yes, it's going to be fun. We're doing things. It's going to be. We have a hybrid presentation today. We have our live guest, Kakhi Wakefield. Everybody say hi. And we're going to show a wonderful video presentation where she goes through her tips and for designs and creates a beautiful design. And then afterwards, she will talk about how to customize that, right, for the holidays. So things you can do. But the video is available on YouTube, on our Facebook page, so you can refer to it as you create your holiday design. There are lots of good ideas. And if you have any questions, I'll put this in just put them in the chat and we'll take them up afterwards.
Yes.
I'll put that in there. And we can have a Q&A. All right. Well, we got a minute, so we'll just start right in a sec. At least the sun is shining.
Yes, it's a beautiful day.
Nice day.
Cold. So
yeah.
Hopefully by the end of this, it'll be warmed up and we can all get outside.
Right. And forage.
Right.
So, all right, we have a good number of people. I'm sure people will join in. Great. Okay. Let's just start. So again, welcome everybody to our final third Saturday gardening class of 2021. It's hard to believe we got to November already, but here we are. And I'll say a little bit about next year. We'll pick up again after the holidays. So our guest today is Kakhi Wakefield of Kakhi Wakefield Designs on Lookout Mountain. And she's here to talk to us about flower arranging and then making it work for the holidays. Yes. So I will, Kakhi, introduce yourself, if you will.
Okay, great. Yes, I grew up with a lot of gardeners in my family, both my grandmothers and my mother. And then my sister was an event planner. So I really started doing flowers for her and found that it was my passion and that was only 7 years ago that I really started doing flowers. So, but my mind just became consumed with learning everything, all the flowers, how to arrange them, all the tips. So this video, I try to work in as many of my arranging tips as I can. And this was filmed last Valentine's Day. So the flowers are a little bit different from what you would find right now. But right now, you know, as you're watching this video, you can think about things for your Thanksgiving table. You know, you may see a beautiful tree outside your window that would have some pretty foliage to create your base. And then just all the beauty that surrounds us, thinking about incorporating that into your designs. And then we're moving into winter. So, you know, this video is a winter video. So there's less flowers that we can get our hands on here in Tennessee. But for the holidays, poinsettias especially, actually, you know how they get kind of leggy towards the end of the season. Instead of throwing them away, I love to cut them and use them as flowers for holiday centerpieces. And you know, Trader Joe's, I'm so excited that we finally have a Trader Joe's. They have an amazing selection of flowers as well. But I'll save some of this for after the presentation, but just wanted to say hello in person. And I'll be following along in the chat, and we'll answer any questions at the end, or may pop in on the chat to answer some of them. But yeah, I'm a mostly a wedding florist these days, but you can follow me on Instagram. That's the main place I'm showing up. And that is K Wakefield Designs is my Instagram name. And then my website is kwakefielddesigns.com if you want to see more of my work. But thank you. I'm honored you would be here to see my style of garden style floral arranging.
All right, so I'm just putting this in the chat. Just her Kakhi's there we go, her website. And I will now share my screen and hope that the video works. So let's all keep our fingers crossed. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. And wait a minute. Hang on. What can you see then? Oh, okay. Let me do this. I need to do this. Technical stuff here. Oh, here we go. All right. Everybody see that?
Yes.
We're good.
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna launch this video. Enjoy, everybody. See you at the end. If everybody would mute.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Kakhi Wakefield of K Wakefield Designs, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a garden style centerpiece. My idea is that this is something that you can make in your own home for a dinner party to enjoy. And to begin, you really just need, I'd love for you to be relaxed. That's my favorite thing about flower arranging, is it's a time to create art. So a lot of times I have a candle lit, I'll pour myself a glass of wine and just have my materials ready, as well as I like to have a leaf bin. You can get these collapsible leaf bins on Amazon. They're so helpful, so that you can put your stems in the leaf bin and use them in your compost pile. I also have a brush pile for larger stems that's just really good for wildlife to have cover if you have a brush pile in your yard, as well as a compost to use in your garden. So right now I'll show you the materials that we're going to use for this arrangement, and then dive in on how to build it. Green base. I have springerite or asparagus fern, Ming fern, podocarpus, Japanese laurel or akuba, variegated pittosporum, and foraged autumn fern from my garden, as well as waxflower, white snapdragon, larkspur, various colors of spray roses, and lisianthus as a spray flower as well. For my roses or my round flowers, my face flowers, I have cappuccino rose, quicksand, and a white mondile. And then for my final elements, my dancing flowers, I have a peach ranunculus and the dried eucalyptus pods. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a floral centerpiece, just for something for dinner parties. And that's why I've chosen this low bowl, but I really encourage you to be creative with your containers. You know, for a centerpiece, anything that's somewhat low so you can still see over it is perfect. This is my China pattern that I got for my wedding. And so it's special to me and I love it. And it's a centerpiece that I use a lot. And the first thing you want to think about is what your mechanics are going to be. In mechanics,
Is that me, Suzanne? I think it muted.
to see it. If you're using a clear vessel
Aha.
like this,
It's back.
you'll probably want to do a tape grid. Oasis makes a 1/4-inch tape, and I really like that so that it doesn't take up surface area. But you just make the tape grid and then do a piece of tape around the side to secure it. And it's great to always do your taping before you add your water. Otherwise, it's hard to get that tape to stick. But for chicken wire, you can go to your local hardware store and my big roll, but one roll of this chicken wire will last you the rest of your floral arranging life. So I just clipped off a piece that's about the width of my vase. And I'm just gonna feed it into my vase, kind of curl it up. I like to have one layer on the bottom and then a layer through the middle, tucking in the sides, and then a layer on top. And that just really gives you the 3 layers stability so your stems don't flop around. So, and the great thing about chicken wire is that it is a lot more environmentally friendly than floral foam. The floral foam is made of tiny little microplastics, and especially if when you use it, if you have to use it, which I do for events sometimes, but I try to avoid it because the little microplastics, you know, if they wash into our water sources, it's not good for wildlife and marine animals, and it's just extra plastic in our environment. So chicken wire is nice because once I get this the right shape, you know, I'll have this forever for this bowl. So because I have plenty of chicken wire in here, I really don't need a piece of tape. You can secure it with a piece of tape, but this is real nice and secure. So I'm not even going to use tape that I'll end up having to cover. And another option is, many of you may have a floral frog. You can get these at all kinds of estate sales, but it's just a heavy tin frog. And you can also put that in the bottom of your bowl with an Oasis product called this cling wrap. And it's just this green cling that you can secure a floral frog to the bottom of your bowl if needed. So, got our mechanics in place. Gonna add my water. And I really love flower arranging. The reason that I'm so grateful for it is because I really feel like it's opened up my eyes to the beauty that God has surrounded us with. Just, I love to use forage materials, especially for my green base. And each new season has so many beautiful things to offer. Even here in the dead of February, in my yard, I can find beautiful things that I'll show you that we're using. So the first layer, I like to think of my arranging in 3 layers. And the first layer is balance. And I'm going to create that balance with my greenery. So I love to use at least 3 different types of greenery, because that's kind of what defines the garden style, is that it has a lot of, the arrangement has a lot of movement and having layers of different greenery. Actually, that piece is pretty stiff. I'm going to save that. You come in with some, this is called podocarpus. It is, I love that it has a lot of fullness, but it still has that light airiness to create a nice base and texture. Come in with this, and for whatever reason, I like to create arrangements that are a little bit asymmetric. I want balance. I don't want it to look like it's going to topple over. It needs balance, but I also don't love just a perfect round ball with, you know, flowers, bop, bop, bop. I like to create some movement, so your eye kind of travels across it. And this first step of creating balance really makes the shape of your arrangement. Now this is a little bit too much, so I'm just paring it down. And you always want to clear the greenery off the bottom of the stems, because you want, it helps keep the water clean and bacteria free, and that will make your stems last longer. So having that foliage in the water just gives more chance for flowers to rot. That's also why I recommend using flower food. It has just, most flower foods have just a little bit of like a bacteria killing agent, and they have a little bit of sugar, because flowers like that for their nourishment. So use those packets, just those ones you get from the grocery store, perfect. And then I'm also, before I put it in, I'm giving each stem a fresh clip at an angle, at a 45-degree angle, because that gives that stem just extra surface area to drink from with that horizontal cut. And one thing that I'm working on, but haven't quite perfected, is actually to get the freshest cut using a floral knife. Is awesome, because you really get that fresh cut. But so I'm not fully I'm not fully adept at using the knife yet, so I'm practicing more on that. But okay, so we have a layer of podocarpus, and because we read from left to right, I often have it a little bit higher on the left and then spilling over on the right. And my arrangements when I start tend to have a front and a back. But then of course I come in and make sure that it's beautiful from all angles. So now I'm going to come in with a second type of greenery. This is just real light, airy greenery that I cannot remember the name of right now. And I'm just gonna layer that in. When I'm thinking about my movement and where things are going, triangles are really pleasing for the eye. So you can kind of see with the podocarpus, like I've got one here, one here, one here, and it kind of makes a inverted triangle. So I'm going to do the same thing with this type of greenery. You have the knife, you can keep it in your hand too, and you're not flopping that on the table. I went to a workshop with a designer, Remco Van Vliet, out of New York City, and he requires that all of his designers only use a knife because that sound drives me crazy. So I'm working on it. I'm using this third kind of greenery is springer eye or asparagus fern. And I just love that all of these have this light, airy texture, but we're still getting some good bulk to our arrangement to work with. Cut this down a little. It's a little heavy to me. Right there. Okay, right here in the middle, I'm actually going to use, in the middle, I think I can use a little bit heavier greenery. And this came from my yard. This is Japanese akuba, Japanese laurel or akuba, and it grows like wildfire. So it is awesome to have for any designer. And you trim it and it just keeps coming on back. So I'm going to put that in the middle, shorten up a little bit of that. Kind of mirror that on the other side. Alright, so I like this green base. I'm going to add a little bit underneath here. May come in with this. I think I want a piece that's a little more spray worthy. So when you're buying flowers, really, it's a little harder in the winter to forage your greens, but most of the time throughout the year, you can go forage a green base using branches and shrubs from your yard, things you see on the side of the highway. I like to tell people, if you see my fanny in the air on the side of the road, just keep on going. I'm fine. Just getting some beautiful things off the side of the road. But some of my favorite roadside things to forage are Iliagnus, even honeysuckle at certain times a year, Queen Anne's lace. It goes so strong all summer long. Yeah, you might just see me on the side of the road. I always ask permission if I'm cutting from somebody's yard. And I would never cut from, park or public place unless desperately needs a civil pruning. Yeah. Okay. So I'm moving on to my second layer of arranging. First we did balance, so I've got an asymmetrical arrangement, but it still has balance. It's not going to topple over. So now I'm moving on to movement, and it's, I'm kind of thinking about where your eye is going to travel through the arrangement. So I've added in these spray flowers. And when you're buying flowers, you want to buy like I said, forage your greens if you can, buy some greenery, and then spray flowers like the Lysianthus that have multiple heads on their stem, as well as the spray rose. These are just great to add bulk to an arrangement. So you want spray flowers, you want your greenery, and then line flowers. I love using line flowers to really help with that movement through the arrangement. So my movement, I'm going to take my line flowers and just have them kind of echo the lines that I've already built with my greenery. And some of them you can kind of have dancing up above. And then I'm going to follow that line down that third snapdragon over here. So line flowers, spray flowers, and then a form around flower, like your roses, your dahlias, hydrangea, anything that has that big face, those face flowers. So yeah, so I've got this, and then this coming. So this really creates a beautiful focal point right here for my arrangement with these two lines. My other type of line flower that I have is larkspur, which is just has all these beautiful little buds, and I love the movement that it brings for an arrangement. Echo that right here. So as far as color choices, we are 3 days before Valentine's Day right now. So that kind of dictated my color flower choices for this week. I'm not a big red rose fan, so I went with a lot of pinks, peaches, and whites for Valentine's Day. But whenever you're buying flowers, I personally think it is best to buy flowers all in a similar color palette. So to look at just look at a color wheel and pick a section of a color wheel to stick to. So here I'm doing a white to a deep pink, or the colors that I have, with a little bit of that peachy pink in there. And a lot of people love color, and you can do some really interesting color palettes, but I think it's safest to stick within a section of the color wheel, just so your arrangement doesn't look like a Mexican fiesta, unless you're going for that. Maybe you're having a Cinco de Mayo party and you want that look. But if you kind of want this soft garden style, then it's safest to buy flowers in the same palette. And you want to, it's also really nice to buy transition colored flowers, which is a flower that has 2 or 3 of the colors that you're using within it. So this wax has the white and the deep pink and the light pink, same as this blushy colored spray rose. It has my pinks and my whites, and then my Hypericum berry is the same thing. It's a great transition flower. It kind of bridges all of your colors, bringing in this peach and the white. Okay, yeah, so movement, I have my lines, and now I'm just studying where your eye is traveling throughout the arrangement. So I'm coming in with my bigger face flowers. Pay attention to how you receive them. If you get them from a wholesaler and they haven't been hydrated, you are going to want to keep them in their sleeves, or you may be ordering from online. You're going to want to keep them in their paper to hydrate. That was a newbie mistake I made early on. So I got my roses and I gave them a fresh clip, and all of their heads will just drop if you don't let them hydrate initially in their paper. So they have to hydrate so their heads stay stiff, and then you can take the paper off after about 4 hours. And I like, as soon as they're hydrated, you get them out of their paper. I like to strip all the leaves off because that really helps the water go to the head and start to open it up. So these, I try to get my roses, I mean, you can get them 5 days before you want to use them, or even more sometimes. And I put them in a warm, sunny place because I really love an open rose as opposed to a tight one. There are places for the tight roses, but if you want that garden look, you can let them open up. They're much easier to open up when they are a couple days old and have been hydrating. So you just can kind of reach in and you just keep twirling the rose and pushing the petals back with your finger. Another look is you can also, it's called reflexing the petals. And you just work your way around and bend these petals, curve these petals back one at a time. And that'll give you, you can make a standard grocery store rose the size of your head doing that. And that's how a lot of designers get that garden look on their roses. This rose was, there we go. But yeah, just get it nice and open for that romantic, lush look. It's pretty short. I'm gonna put that right because I got it all big and beautiful. I'm gonna put it right here, kind of in the middle. And then I'm gonna lay, I love using different sizes of roses. So your spray roses give you a great tiny look. It fills a lot of space, and then all different varieties or different shapes and sizes. And I really encourage, a lot of people say, I can't buy all these. This is expensive. It does get expensive garden style if you want to use all these different varieties. But the best way to get a variety of flowers like this is to become friends with your local flower farmer, because a lot of them have CSAs throughout the growing season, and you'll get a beautiful bucket of an assortment of flowers like this. And you can forage the greens from your yard and then fill in your CSA flowers. Those are some of my favorite arrangements, are the ones that I did with my CSA. I've continued to just go around my arrangement and follow my lines, pay attention to where my focal areas are, open up some of my roses. And so now I'm just filling in the arrangement and making it nice and lush and full. And stems like this is the very reason why I love to have a couple of bud vases. nearby when I'm arranging. I love any of these vases that you're interested in, I can get you. I just kind of have an issue with how many vases I purchase. So I'd love to help you find a vase that you need or a low centerpiece. Please feel free to reach out to me about that. But, you know, I'm a sucker for a beautiful bud vase. This is a piece of crystal that just has a tiny little hole. So it makes it so easy when you have stems that won't make it into the water to be able to stick them in these little bud vases to have for your powder room, as they would say in the South, your bathroom. I also would encourage you to have a spot in your home. We have a little spot over by our bar that just has a little marble tray. I can show you later, where I love to keep a beautiful, just tiny bud vase. So I always have fresh flowers, and it's so easy. If you see, you know, if you have something growing in your yard, just to pop it in with a fern. There's another short stem that's not going to make it. Pop it in my bud vase. And I would also, some creative things to use in your flower arrangements are fruit. I love to use grapes. If you had a taller vase, like something like this is a hurricane, you know, I might do some green grapes draping over, green or purple grapes. I've used oranges and persimmons at Thanksgiving time. Pomegranates are beautiful at Christmas. And you can just put those on a wooden skewer. And then I like to put a little bit of floral glue where you stabbed the piece of fruit, because that's the only disadvantage with fruit is it tends to make, it has those esters that'll make your flowers not last as long. This is a quicksand rose. I just love I always love how quicksands open up. And they're just that subtle blushy color. And then a flower that I think is so pretty with the quicksand is, if you're drawn to more of the muted tones, is a cappuccino. It's kind of a smaller version of that quicksand, and it has just a little deeper blush tone. These two roses are very trendy right now, the cappuccino and the quicksand. And so same with Sahara, just that dusty color, which there are a lot of trendy things I don't love right now, but I do kind of like that, except I'm never going to be a pampas grass kind of girl with that dark brown. I like my arrangements to look fresh and alive. But I do another thing, especially for your own home, is dried products are really hot right now. And you can get a lot. These bunny tails would be so pretty. These are dried bunny tails to give some fluffy texture throughout this arrangement, and have dried and dyed pink bougainvillea. And then I love these eucalyptus pods. And I might have those in at the end to kind of draw my line up. But if you buy those fresh, you can then dry them and keep using them. They are fabulous. Okay, so can I have one more rose right here in the middle? This really takes my color up a notch, but brings in those, brings in my hypericum berry that has that peach. So I love that we're adding in a little peachy pink here. This beautiful, beautiful spray rose. actually, I think I wanna. I'm gonna make it a little shorter, just to keep my shape. Keep where the arrangement's kind of coming in. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of recreate enhance my lines with this eucalyptus, this dried eucalyptus that I used at a wedding back in February. And dried a few extra stems I couldn't work in. So this kind of brings that line up. I'm going to be honest with you, this arrangement is getting a little high for a dining room table. My rule of thumb is if it's above your fist, then you can see over it. So you're going to be talking through some eucalyptus a little bit here, which women are always fine to do. I have seen men take that flower arrangement and plop it on the floor. So just be aware of who your audience is when you're thinking about your height. Women are happy to talk through the flowers, but men maybe less so. So I just love that this brings this arrangement out and up. So we're going to pretend this is for women to talk, to sit around and eat. And then the flowers that I love to add in too at this last stage are my dancers. So these eucalyptus are kind of dancing up. Any branches that kind of bring the line up and out. These birch branches are really beautiful for doing that. And then I'm going to add in my ranunculus, which are my favorite dancing flower. The Lysianthus are a great dancer too, but they're also a great filler, sprayed flower filler. So, one more piece of this here. Good thing about it dried is you don't have to worry about it getting all the way in water. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to grab these beautiful ranunculus. I mean, this baby does not want to be squashed down in an arrangement. Look at that, just the beautiful lines on that. She is made to dance. So she's going to dance. Give her a fresh cut, angle. She's going to dance right here. The other great thing about not using floral foam is some flowers like ranunculus and tulips, any of those little bit softer stems, really don't like, it's hard to get them in that foam. And flowers do last longer in fresh, clean water. And you can kind of take them out and put them back in with the joint wire as opposed to foam. You don't have to worry about overworking your foam. So I'm just making sure I get it in the water. And ooh, I love how that made it. Just bring it up and give it that garden dance right there. Ranunculus are one of my favorite flowers. They just, their little layers are so romantic and gorgeous. So again, I kind of like to put them, you know, coming up here and then you're dancing over here, and then you have your focal point in the middle. I don't use a lot of big, huge roses out on the corners because it kind of weighs down the edges. I kind of focus my roses more in the center there. To dance. It's probably good to get their, I don't think their foliage adds a whole lot. So I usually strip ranunculus little leaves off. Okay, and I think finally I'm just gonna go around and make sure there's nothing that looks too bare and fill it in. One of my favorite little fillers are obviously the hypericum berries, add so much texture, and then I love the wax flower to fill in gaps and holes, and it really just gives that extra texture to your arrangement. I almost always use wax flower, but most of the flowers that I've used are available year round. Nothing too fancy. I got these all at our local wholesaler that doesn't have too many fancy offerings. So these should be readily accessible. And I'd be happy to help if anybody has questions on how to source different things that you want. I'd be happy to help with that. And I can't resist because these are my autumn ferns that I love so much. I think I'm gonna have to work this in on the side. I love ferns so much. Bring it out. See, it's still, I mean, the arrangement is going 2/3 on one side and 1/3 on the other, but it's still balanced. That's a good rule of thumb. It's 2/3 and 1/3. And you can kind of use that rule in sizing how big your arrangement can be too. You know, this bowl is 1/3 the size of the flower arrangement. Maybe the flowers a little bit. Here's the final product. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I would love to be a resource to you if you have any questions about the materials, mechanics, bases. I am here to help. You can reach out to me on my website, which is kwakefielddesigns.com. And I just appreciate, I'm honored that you would watch. Thanks for joining me.
Okay. We did it.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I made a few thoughts since y'all are master gardeners. I neglected to say that I'm also I was a student over the last year, and I need to turn in my hours and everything, but I've just really loved being part of the master gardener group. And I started a flower bed myself, and I know a lot of you probably have flowers from your yard that you could use, but my zinnias have been so amazing to work into arrangements all summer, and I was using them all the way up to like a week or two ago. And I mentioned getting to know your local flower farmers. If you don't have a huge plot of a flower cutting garden, Southerly Flower Farm and Creekside Flower Farm, Terra Flower Farm, Jolie Jardin. We have so many flower farmers in our town, and they come to the farmers markets around town. So that's a great place to just go be able to pick up a bucket of flowers. You have your forage green base that you make, and then you put in this variety of flowers grown locally. And that's a wonderful way to get this garden style variety. But I'm looking at the questions. How long does it last? the more you change out the water, the longer it's going to last, because they just need that fresh water. The bacteria is what ultimately kind of clogs the stems and makes them die. Keeping them in a cool place will make it last longer as well. But that's the other great thing. I love to, as it's dying, I pull out dead flowers that look sad and go clip a fern from my yard and tuck it in if it created a hole. So I like to just try to keep it going as long as I can. You know, if you're refreshing flowers, you know, you can make it look great for a week or two. But I'd say just like that, it's fresh for like 3 days probably. But different flowers last different amounts of time. So I like, if I'm doing it for a party, I like to do the flowers the day before, and then the day of I can focus on cleaning up my house and cooking. But yes, and then let's see, it would be nice to hear about the rule of three or odd numbers in design. Yep, that's, odd numbers are more pleasing to the eye. And yeah, rule of three, definitely. Yeah, anything in odds is more pleasing. It's even in, you know, designing in your house. If you want to do three little bud vases down your table, do 3, 5, or 7. And then the same thing within floral design. It all that rule of three stems from the golden ratio, which some of you may have studied in garden design, but it's, you know, our world, the Fibonacci sequence, and how flowers grow and everything kind of boils down to, you can simply boil it down to a rule of three, or that 3, 3, 5, 8 in studying like proportions of design. But that's a long thing to explain. But yeah, the rule of three, odd numbers, and the ratios of 8 being the whole and 5 and 3, that can be applied in a lot of different ways in design. But any other questions?
Can you name those flower farms again? I was gonna start to write them in.
Yes, Creekside Flower Farm is right in Flintstone, Georgia. Southerly Flower Farm, she goes to a lot of the markets. She goes to the Wednesday market on close to Main Street.
Mhm.
And then if you go to the Sunday market at the Tennessee Pavilion, there are several flower growers there. One of them is Paw and Flowers. They're actually out of Atlanta, but they come to Chattanooga, and and during dahlia season, they have incredible dahlias and a huge amount of them.
How do you
Um,
how do you spell that? P-A?
it's Paw, P-A,
P-A.
and
Oh,
Flowers.
right. Pot
Yes,
and flowers.
Paw and Flowers. And then Terra Flower Farm is on Signal Mountain, and Jolie Jardin, they actually have a storefront right on, I think it's Main Street, right in that area. Jolie Jardin, they've partnered up with Poe Market right there on Main Street. They have an adorable little store, and she grows beautiful tulips and fresh flowers. But yeah, most of the flowers farmers ended like a week ago, but they'll start ramping up back like in April. And yeah, oh yeah, you wrote them out. I know there are more. I find most of these through Instagram. Southerly is a great, Southerly and Creekside, especially Creekside, for those of you who grow flowers. She does a lot of kind of the ins and outs of flower farming videos. So she'd be a fun one to follow if you're interested in growing flowers.
Do you add any kind of Clorox or Purex to keep down the bacteria to the water?
Yeah, I mean, if you have the flower food packets, that's the easiest thing because it has the right balance. But that is what's in them is a bacteria killing agent. So if you don't have the flower food, I would do a little bit of bleach. Um, and I think all those old wives' tales, people say put a penny in and put Sprite in. Like the Sprite is because they like a little bit of sugar, and the bleach is because it keeps the water clean. So those work too. I would be careful with your proportions so you don't kill them with bleach.
I also heard that making the water cold, putting some ice cubes in will keep the flower. I like maybe.
Yeah, it probably depends on the type of flower. I, you know, I love a product called Quick Dip, especially if you want to clip your flowers and immediately use them as a gardener. Quick Dip is a product that when you clip it, you stick it in the Quick Dip, and then for 1 second, and then you put it in water, and it just opens up all those vessels when you clip it for the flower to get a good drink. So the cold water to me, I've heard that with hydrangea. There's tricks you can do with hydrangea with cold water, but the cold water to me, like it probably doesn't. Warm water probably opens up its vessels better. Not warm, but I'd say I'd stick to room temperature water in general. I think there are tricks you can do with cold water, like plunging it in cold water and then warm water. I've read some things about doing that with hydrangea, but general, I would do warm just so those vessels suck up water better.
Let me see. Do you have any other questions? Oh, something like.
Oh, here I see the questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Branches. Yes, I love my Japanese maple, but maple for some reason, yeah, it doesn't last very long. It curls up really fast. So when I use that one, I kind of add it in last minute before my dinner party. Honestly, maple is one of those branches that just curls up, but I do think the quick dip would probably help it. If you can order that on Amazon. It's made by Quick Dip. If you just look up Quick Dip, you'll find it. And and you could also try, some people like to smash their woody stems. I prefer to just cut, you cut it at an angle, and I then cut up the stem to give it more surface area instead of like smashing it. So that might work with the maple too. And then Christmas arranging, that's a perfect time to use your evergreens as your base. So to get, a little cypress, cryptomeria, hemlock. I should have said in the video, anytime you're using something invasive or something like hemlock, that could have woolly adelgid, you want to be just careful about your disposal of it. So you're not, spreading it, spreading something. But yeah, an evergreen base for Christmas, and then magnolia is so beautiful at Christmas. I love foraging pine cones. I even will paint the pine cones gold. You could just paint the tips of them gold, or you could spray the whole thing gold. Little hemlock cones sprayed or painted gold are so pretty. Fruit sprayed gold. I like gold a lot. Or just fruit not spray gold on a pick. It's just so Christmassy to me. Pomegranates, and I always love grapes. They add so much texture. But like I said, poinsettias, a lot of times by Christmas, my plants are looking a little leggy sometimes if I haven't taken care of them. So then they're great as cut flowers. And holly berries I love to use in Christmas arrangements. But yeah, just really incorporating those fruits and evergreens and Christmas flowers. I also right about now is time to start your forced bulbs for Christmas. I've just potted up my amaryllis and my paper whites. So that's another one that you can cut from if the plant itself is not looking like you love the cut flowers, you know, an amaryllis, you can get like 5 huge stems off of that one amaryllis bloom that I would just stick in a water tube and use in a flower arrangement. So if you haven't gotten your bulb, if you want to force some bulbs for Christmas, now is the time to start them.
Any other questions? People can unmute and ask a question if you want. Yes, no?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not real sure where to buy the floral supplies that you recommend, such as like a water tube or other like certain type of scissor or tape or anything.
Yes. Well, I have an account at the wholesaler here in town. I don't know if any of you might have access to that, but there are 2 wholesalers in town that are technically not open to the public. But if you have a business of some sort and can create an account, they have all that stuff. But also Hobby Lobby and Michael's
Oh,
has
okay.
a lot. They should have water tubes and
Okay.
they have a floral arranging section. They should have the tape, floral tubes, all that kind of thing. You can also order everything on Amazon or online. Oasis makes a lot of those tips. But as far as the tape, really any tape will work.
Mhm.
Don't feel like you have to get the Oasis tape. It might work a little bit better, but you know, a skinny tape that you find at Walgreens will work too. And chicken wires from Ace Hardware. And then you should be able to find most of it at Hobby Lobby or Michael's.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? People feel free to unmute and just chime in with a comment or a question.
Oh, I'm glad to know about Sharon's Flower Wholesale. And if you have a florist that you go to, you know, you could ask them, can I buy some tape from you? They are usually happy, you know, to sell you what you need to if you can't find it.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess I would ask if you're adding a fruit like an orange, which is sort of heavy, do you put it in? Would you put it in when you were like adding your center roses part?
Yes, I would say the heavier fruit is the lower focal. I like to make it look natural. So that would be sitting like on the rim of the vase, you know, like it's more natural when it's on the rim down low, and with the weight of it, you put it on a pick and then you can kind of set it on the rim of the vase too and build your focal area around it.
Oh yeah, there
And
was
the third point, dancers. Yeah, I kind of bridged between my 3 areas. The third point was rest. You know, it went from balance to movement to rest, creating that beautiful spot where your eye is drawn to with the focal flowers. You know, the fruit, the roses, the bigger flowers that your eyes kind of drawn to in the middle where your line's going, and then the dancers at the end I use to just kind of accentuate my movement, you know, to draw out my lines and give it that light, airy texture all around it. But yeah, I don't want any of this to be intimidating. Flowers themselves, if you have beautiful flowers, you're going to have a beautiful flower arrangement. These are just kind of fun guidelines for my particular style that I love. But I would not let any of this intimidate you to keep you from just arranging, enjoying the flowers you've grown or bought and making something beautiful. If it's beautiful to your eye, it's going to be beautiful to others. And there's just the enjoyment of creating it is very valuable, especially these days when we're kind of, I find in the midst of stress and just things, our world being different, it is so nice to have this artistic outlet where you bring beautiful things together in one piece that you can enjoy in your home.
That's a good point, Kakhi. I was thinking about how when I'm getting ready for a dinner party or having people over, my quiet time and when I get away from all the stress is when I take the time to go ahead and do my arrangements. And even though I kind of making a mess, pulling all my stuff off, it just is very calming. But I have a question for you, and it's not really holiday related, but you said you're doing a lot of weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Do the brides really spell out what flowers they want? I mean, you obviously have a real good design sense and are very good about the palette and arrangement, or do they get really specific about what they want, or they just kind of tell you a color range? I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Usually they found me because they like my style. And so then they tell me, I have a lot of brides who are just like, I only want green and white, and which I love. I love green and white. It's classic. You can't go wrong. And then we look at what flowers are in season and kind of talk through that. And they kind of look through my portfolio and tell me what they like. And then I build a inspiration board, and we kind of talk through where we need flowers, and that kind of informs what kind of designs I'm going to do given the space. And so then I build an inspiration board and a flower board, and I show them, if you like all these photos, you're going to love your wedding. So then we talk through the photos that I pull up, and I get a better sense of what they like and don't like. But I'd say generally the moms know the moms know what they want. The brides are kind of like whatever. So
that I can picture that. I've got a friend who's planning a wedding with her son, and I was just kind of curious. So thank you.
Yes, but I will say, if you choose a designer who you like their floral style, I love it when they say, here's kind of what I like, but I trust you, because then you're not limited. I feel less limited in my design. It's like, oh, they don't like this bright color, but it's so gorgeous. It's available right now and it's so gorgeous. And so I'd say find a designer who you love their style and trust them, and you're going to get an even more beautiful wedding than trying to tell them exactly what you want.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? We've exhausted our questions. The video will be up on our Facebook page, so you can watch it again to remind yourself of things that Kakhi was talking about. And I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Carol Matthews for finding you and bringing you to us. And maybe you'll come back and do another one.
I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
Great. Maybe when we meet in person someday.
Yes.
You can bring all your stuff and we can watch you.
Yes.
create something from
Lovely.
scratch.
Mhm.
So everybody unmute and let's give Kakhi a round of applause for answering questions and it's great to know you're here close by. So we'll see you again.
Yes.
I'm gonna follow you on Instagram for sure.
Thank
Uh,
you.
And this is great. So anyway, I would say happy Thanksgiving, happy holiday, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas seems a little early, but still. And we will be back with our third Saturday class in January 2022. We will probably be starting on Zoom, and hopefully as we leave the cold weather indoor season, we'll figure out how to migrate to in-person. But I think just saying I'd like to keep an element of the Zoom and the Facebook streaming because we've been able to reach so many more people who maybe don't want to get up and get out of their pajamas on a Saturday morning and drive someplace. And it's great to have this archive. As I've said, all of our Saturday classes are archived on our Facebook page. We started in January with Japanese flower arranging. So we're ending with a traditional Southern style of flower arranging. So I think that's a nice bookend. We've had shade gardening, we've had orchids, container gardening. We've had just a wide range of classes that Carol has brought to us. So as I said, let me just see if I can find a class. So speak up. Sorry. Let me just put our Facebook, whoops, hang on. Very quickly, I will put our Facebook page in the chat if you don't have it. Like our page. It's the page, not the group. We do have a group for members, but this is the page for the public, so anybody can see it. And I'm not sure if we'll try to put your page on our page. Maybe we can like your page, and then we'll be connected, Kakhi, and people can
Great.
follow you as well. Did I do that? There we go.
Thank
Okay. Any questions? Anything else before we say goodbye? So look for our announcements in January. Thank you, Carol. Do you have anything you want to say? If you can. But if anybody has any ideas, okay, if you have any ideas, you know how to reach Carol. So thank you, Kakhi. Thank you. Have a wonderful holiday. Hope your kids are okay.
Thank you. Yes, they're fine. I'm just, yeah, well, hope we survive quarantine.
Right. Never a dull moment. Yes, this is true. If people can't go outside, that's a scary thought. Anyway, all right. So that's it for today.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody. Thank you. Thank you. This all worked out great. We did it. So congrats. And we'll see you all. If you're, we'll see Master Gardeners at the holiday party on December 9th. That's the next thing. So sign up for that.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
We'll see ya. Take care. I'm gonna go out and cut some foliage.
Yes.
Exactly.